You have arrived to the Plunge Into Prosperity podcast, where sacred wisdom meets regenerative wealth. I'm your host, Brandi Kolosky of Sacral Capital. Now let's plunge in. Today we're sitting down with Crystal Clenney, an international storyteller, speaker, and self-described intuitive and empath, whose path is anything but linear. By day, Crystal built and runs an enterprise payroll and workforce management software consultancy through TLM Mentor. She's also a published poet, but the through line of her life's work began at 25 when a 3-hour spontaneous awakening she described as light infusion shards entering and healing her body shattered her existing belief systems and set her on a path she never walked back from. Over the next 20 plus years, she's immersed herself in energy medicine, natural healing, and the fine-tuning of subtle awareness, research that has quietly matured into Intuitive Human. The platform she's building today, Intuitive Human, maps patterns and trends across 18 intuitive pathways, giving language to what she calls a somatic signaling system, essentially how intuition communicates through the body. She joins us as one of our Sacral Sisters, investors backing the SPV into Sacral Fund, and as an advisor to the fund itself. And in full transparency for our listeners, we're currently running due diligence on Intuitive Human, a venture that's new to market, but more than 2 decades in the making. Crystal, I am honored to call you also a friend. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to share what Intuitive Human is all about.
And for our new listeners here, tell them why they should continue to listen to this particular Plunge Into Prosperity, episode number 9.
Episode number 9 is going to be about intuition and how we're doing intuition differently. And differently in the way where we're marrying up neuroscience with biotech. We are cross-modal mapping, which just means we're taking psychology from 100 years old and mapping that over to current neuroscience data, biofield data, and bringing you a new way to look at intuition and finding the frequencies of intuition in the body. So we want to check out the brain, check out the heart, check out the gut, find these frequencies so that we can use them for future human existence.
Find the frequencies. So they've already been there. They've always been there. What has happened over time, the human existence, where you feel that we have lost touch with that knowing already? Because they've already always been there, but we've just disconnected. Can you tell us your experience personally or what research you're finding?
Yes. So on a personal level, I experience frequencies in my body. Actually, I feel the waves of people and different experiences, different levels of intuition coming to me through frequencies. And because it does always exist, it is a universal language, then now technology is kind of catching up with us to be able to identify specifically what these frequency ranges are. And so we're very interested in identifying like the definition. I feel like it is a range of frequencies. You know, let's just say like clairvoyance, we don't know yet. But if clairvoyance is 100 hertz to, 200 hertz, or if it's 110 to 120, but really like narrowing that range and becoming grounded in the science of intuition to be able to help humanity stay closer to their universal language.
Yes. You and I, we connect all the time talking about all these things. And this stuff gets me all excited and nerded out on it. I also feel those things as well. And I love mixing science and spirit together. Not only does it I'm not necessarily seeking the need to have a physical to believe in something, right? Although I love data and science in general. So it's just fun to be able to go into both worlds together and to hear that you're finding, or it's already been known, you're just going to be diving deeper into, there's a hertz frequency number that's associated with the different types of clairs, so to say.
Yes.
Right. And then,
yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then what are these 18 pathways that we speak of?
Yeah, so the 18 pathways, there's more than that, but we're actually narrowing the field, even though 18 is also a lot. So you have 6 clairs. So it's all the senses plus knowing, right? So you have feeling, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, knowing. 6 clairs, and finding the range of intuition, but also marrying that up with psychology and, long studied psychology and long studied character styles type of mappings that create us as energy bodies and humans. And then the other 6 are the empaths. There are more than 6 empaths, but again, we're kind of, keeping the range narrow enough. And we have certain ideologies about the empaths that if you're a physical empath, that means that you feel. I'm a physical empath. I feel other people's lots of things in my body. I feel their emotions. I feel their pain. I feel their actual physical stuckness and limitations, arthritis, headaches, all that kind of stuff too. But we have, physical empath, emotional empath, geomantic empath, location-based, medical empath. So there's 6 different empaths. And we kind of feel like the
I'm
empaths,
all of them.
Yeah, right? Yes. And I think like the more we cultivate our intuition, the more it can grow and lean into the other pathways as well. And that's what we want to do is, we believe that there are certain strengths of intuition based on upbringing and core woundings and things like this, but also that we can open into other ones. And then the last segment of the intuitive 6 kind of segments of the intuition pathways is the niche. We're just calling them niche tracks right now until we get a better name, but niche tracks. So that's dreams, telepathy. It actually just happened coming to this location this morning. There was a shared thought that was silent and, but real time. So there's some elements and specificities of intuition that we are looking to bring in and identify. And really it started out to help people become aware of what all these signals are in the intuitions that are happening for people so that we can wake humanity up to their own level of knowing from direct knowing, because that changes everything.
Yes. We'll pause real quick. Where are you again?
I'm at the Royal Hawaiian Hotel.
So you're in
Waikiki.
Hawaii, in Waikiki.
Yes.
And I know, but the listeners don't know, you have been, I don't know if you were dabbling or if you were going pretty deep, but I'm pretty sure it was on the deeper end and some dabbling here and there, working with this research and actually applying it on your travels recently. Can you tell us a little bit about where you went, what you did, who you worked with?
Yes. So we have the vision of being known on every continent and with all peoples across the globe. And so I personally love to travel, and we went to Tahiti recently before landing in Hawaii. Now we talked to locals there in Tahiti to understand the Tahitian view of intuition and their belief systems about how it might work for them. We had an audience with a couple of people there, and that was fascinating. It comes very rooted through oral history and being passed down. They also have a belief that, when the upper line passes on into the rainbow bridge, if you will, that those gifts get handed down. And that is a linear lineage inheritance, if you will. Spirit inheritance.
Yep. I just got the tingle right here, tingle on the top back of the shoulders, because if my mother would use her powers. My mother is extremely intuitive. If she had bought me a pair of earrings and I lost one of them, she would randomly text me and I would already be looking for days on where I can rebuy them.
Wow.
And she would text me and go, "Did you lose your earrings? Did you lose something? Or did you lose something?" She's passed that down onto me. And I know that my grandmother's before her as well. And so, yes, this is just beautiful to hear that you're working with, all humans around the planet and all the different research and gathering all of that data. Thank you so much for doing that. And I love workcations. So
yes, exactly. That's my life for sure. And here in Hawaii, went to Waimea Valley to understand the sacredness of that valley and everything. And we do have an appointment that we'll be setting up with the educational director in Waimea Valley to also understand the historic reference of intuition with the local Polynesian Hawaiian folks here too.
I am so excited for this. It just whenever I'm looking at working with others and we're investing in them or in any capacity or just being a part of someone's life, period, I always attract and want to work with those that are pushing their own version of their limitation, right? And or seeking to grow in all ways and also have such a passion for what they're doing and basically just don't stop until you find and just find fun within doing it, right?
And so take
Yes.
us back to the beginning on, who you are, Crystal, in your own words, and then where has that taken you into the origin of the story behind Intuitive Human?
It's a perfect segue. And it is my life's mission because when I was 25, I had a spontaneous awakening experience that you talked about in the opening. And that literally shifted my entire trajectory of anything that I knew and everything I didn't know, which was perfect. And at 25, I had a 3 hour awakening experience when I was implementing Lucent technology, actually. Back in the day. And it was so wild that it just left me sacredly bare.
Mm.
So I went back to my home state of Jacksonville, Florida, and told all my 20 something friends about this amazing spiritual experience, awakening experience that I didn't even know that word back then. And within 2 months, I left everything I knew and went after it. And I was like, I have to find out, what is this all about? And that took me to Michigan and Texas and California and the real Mexico to live and explore what happened, natural alternative complementary medicine, and really dig deep into energy psychology, natural healing, intuition, transcendent experiences, spiritual enlightening, and things of this nature. And I have now traveled to Tibet and China and France and Tahiti now also, and plan to make my way, across the world to learn more.
So that is the words of, anyone meeting you for the first time. And then this origin story behind Intuitive Human. Give us some pivotal, other than the moment that you had when the lights and the shards of light were coming through and shattering you and leaving you in that space. Give us another moment where you just had to move into that next part of you, or that death, rebirth, and it's another pivoting moment.
Yeah. Through my studies, I've had amazing experience of journeys and, into places where the drums take you, and, you see new and different things, and, messages being delivered. And so I was literally like in my car having a very normal day, driving on the highway in California, going to a client for implementation. And I heard this voice come through my non-hearing ear. So I'm partially deaf in this ear since infancy, from a meningitis that I had as a baby. And I heard through clairaudience, Intuitive Human is the work you will do in the world. And I stopped right there. I was on an off ramp coming off of the I-5. I stopped, I called, and I asked if this domain was available, Intuitive Human, because it was that imperative. And I had no idea at that moment what it would be. And now, I've gone through a few iterations, and we have arrived.
Yes.
So Intuitive Human will be finding the frequencies of intuition in the human body.
I do remember you telling me that story. We've known each other a little while now, so I just got reintegrated back into it again. And
yes,
and that it's just that small little moment of knowing that your infant, at an infant you were, and your hearing was damaged, but I heard it so clearly there. And it's like, maybe that's why that ear was meant to only hear that.
Right? Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. And you're just like, wow. It was wild.
That is wild. I was having a dream the other day, and then I heard somebody that's current in my life. Like, I felt like they were just laying right now next to me, and I was just like in a meditation / sleep state. And I was like, what? Like, they were clear as day, as if they were just sitting right next to me. It's just so wild.
Yeah.
The more clear we become. I've been making sure that I've been grounding while really working heavily on launching this podcast and launching Sacral Sisters and launching the fund. And I noticed that when I'm not grounding as much or not being consistent with it, I also get more staticky and lose those abilities to be able to get those messages in clearer. What is your experience also with that?
Yeah, for me, I feel like I have to slow down. And I feel like in our American culture, I specifically left California and went to Mexico to break my American enculturation.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that even mean? That means for me, I was going way too fast, way too hard, way too long, and overriding every single signal in my own body. health wise, but also for my own sanity as well. And so for me, it's slowing down. So you'll see some of my taglines are like, slow down, pay attention to the whispers that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that just lives in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it, in the breeze, the like really soft breeze of the plant. Or I even see it if I'm like zooming down the highway 70 miles an hour. And unfortunately, there's a bag or something floating in the air, so gently. And it's like, oh, yeah, I also need to slow down too. And just a reminder for me to, slow my roll and
yes,
take a pause.
Agree. I think that's what Puerto Rico did for me. Because I loved hiking in the mountains. I loved the oceans. I was born in Florida. By the way, everyone listening, I was also born in Jacksonville and lived there only till I was 2. And then my family did Gainesville and then now St. Augustine. But we were reintroduced to our OG, like where we were, creating this one. And you would never think that Jacksonville would be a place where us intuitive humans would be meeting. But it's beautiful how the world has continued to grow and we grow with it. And we just continue to push it to more growth, which kind of leads me into back to intuitive human and what you're building and what you're researching and your core being of who you are. What is the core problem or there's many of them that you're solving and like, who is it for? Now, you and I doing due diligence together, building your data room together. I know personally now, after we really drilled down to how we're going to grab all this data and be able to show people that it is applicable and we could really regain our own intuitive abilities by working with your intuitive human modalities and platform and model. But go ahead and tell us what that core problem is solving and who is it for initially yeah.
So I believe in direct knowing, and that becomes an irrefutable foundation that can't be shaken, and it's imperative. And so this would actually be taking people back into contact and with agency, not just like, random, drive-by intuitive things happening that you don't know how to stay in contact with, but it's like stabilizing intuition in a way that you can actually call upon when you need it. And it's having agency, right? It's like I always think about the X-Men movie with the guy I forget his name, but the guy with the glasses, the laser guy. And when you if his like glasses lift off, it's out of control, right? So we're just really trying to have, choice about intuition. And for those, we want to make it accessible for those who feel like they may be, having like weaker intuition, or maybe they don't know they're intuitive yet. It's a universal signal. And so we want to make it accessible for everybody. And if it is accessible and when it is accessible to everybody, then there's the element of direct knowing that is faster. It's faster than logic. It's faster than light. And it takes you right into connection with what the truth is about reality and how to change things.
I'm going to give a more physical example, something that the listeners can touch on that I'm going to share and validate it. Tell me. We'll do some work with it. So when I was working with Crystal, we were looking at the application of who our initial study groups were going to be. And since I was an athlete, a professional dancer for 21 years, and I was studying healing the body through different modalities and knowing that eventually I would start to get the aches and pains later on. But even as an athlete, I never got hurt while being an athlete, but others that are, that do experience that, it can be tapped into prior than the accident happening. And I am referencing, and this is something Crystal and I, tapped into was, okay, so say there is a small strain that's happening in the calf and an NFL player isn't feeling anything. They don't feel that it's off balance. A physical therapist isn't noticing. A chiropractor, no osteo are recognizing it because it's so fine. But once you ramp up that intuitive knowing in all the pathways of the body, you can get that signal. And that's something that's just like a physical example that I can give the listeners of one tiny version of what that could be like in the future, where they could be like, something's off.
Yes, for sure. I actually do body scans on myself like that. I
Mm.
had a thyroid crisis back, 10 or 10, 11 years ago now. But I can speak to an experience where I used the subtle knowing of, how to, cure's a strong word, but how to eradicate or
Ah,
disappear
yes.
experience in the
Poof.
body and change it. And one time I was traveling, I got really sick, probably something on the plane. And within 3 days, I was so sick, and I was so sick for 7 more days. And so this is like 10th day, you are down and still feeling really bad. And I was actually talking to a friend of mine on a video, and I said, "Hey, hold on a second, something's happening. I need to get with this." And I hung up with them, and I just totally went internal because I knew it was the time to do that. And I mean, it was like death warmed over, I was feeling like. And so I went totally internal and like so tight and constricted right into the pit of my
Mm-hmm.
stomach. And then and just squeezed, and it just shot through my whole body. The
Mm-hmm.
starburst shot out through my whole body, and my hands were beside me, and the energy went through my hands and exited my body just like that. And then I passed out and went to sleep for like three
Yes.
or 4 hours, a deep sleep, and that was
Yeah.
it. I woke up and I was completely refreshed, and I was not sick anymore.
I know. Wow. Okay. It's interesting how these type of examples are I don't realize that that's what I'm doing. Is a really
Hmm.
deep healing, and where I'm just like, wait, when did I pass out? Knowing that I
Hmm.
like, but it wasn't because I was so tired. And it doesn't have to be something physical, guys and ladies. It can be something emotional too that you need to release,
For sure.
or so I know I'm doing that often. So there are lots of cleansing all the time. It's not just doing a 1 day a week fast, water fast, everybody. You have to cleanse your energy too. Energetic hygiene is what we're calling it. And so, Crystal, why now? What's shifted in the world that makes this the moment for it, where everyone's now wanting to get into energetic hygiene, or that's a newer term that's happening, but cleansing the physical, but now we're moving into cleansing the spiritual. So tell us why.
Yeah,
Why?
honestly, I've thought about why now in a few different ways. It feels like technology has kind of caught up with what's possible now in finding the frequencies. It feels like with social media and things like that, being able to connect everybody, that there's even more connection, right? That's possible and known and being brought to the forefront of each and every human. And I just think that that really amplifies the space. It's like group healing or group therapy, or whenever you're in a
Mhm.
group, there's a natural amplification that happens. And I mean, I've been kind of, like churning on this concept of intuitive human and trying a few different things. And I am a creature of science, but also of spirit.
Yeah.
And I am an engineer minded, analytical
Yeah.
person, but also very gifted, in intuition and spirituality and transcendent experiences. And so I feel like, yes, now. And it must be now. And
Yeah.
people need this now more than ever.
Hmm.
And we got to get back to our roots also. And
Yeah.
it's not more fundamental than this.
No, it's not. And the research that you and I have been doing, I want you to tap into some of the other companies out there, both ones that are research and development. You're not the only one that has been starting to do research on all of these. But what does intuitive human actually do that none of those do? And or how can we call on them to partner with them, or collaborate on our research together?
Hmm. Yeah, so HeartMath is one of the closer relatives, if you will, of what Intuitive Human is doing in the world. And that's really, focused on heart coherence and the power of,
Mm,
really paying attention to that connection and what it does in the body
mm,
and in group settings as well. So they have some technology that they're working with. They do case studies as well. And they're very focused on that. And so I do have connections, and friends of friends who have those connections at the Heart Math Institute. And we want to make, connections with them as well as we move forward here.
mm.
And then IONS is an Institute of Noetic Science, and they
Noetic?
are noetic, yes,
Can you spell that out
which,
for the listeners?
yes, Noetic. Institute of Noetic Science.
Mm-hmm.
And they are a scientific foundation. They're a nonprofit, and they are geared towards psi research. So psi is PSI, so psychic research. And they've done many case studies. They've been around for a very long time and have excellent stories and research topics that you can delve into. And they write journals on their case studies. And so we will be also connecting with them as
We are
well
now.
because yes, because they are I'm still on a series with them on intuition. Actually, as we speak, we have one more webinar left. So that's been quite fascinating and fun.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is there
that's amazing.
I know that there's a couple others we've been eyeing on. What other companies out there are we wanting to reach out to start collaborating with here eventually?
Yeah, so Neurofield is out of Santa Barbara, and we met with them several years ago and started working more closely with them last year. And they're on board, and also intuitive beings as well. And yeah, we're going to be deepening our collaboration with them to be able to bring forth I chose them also as a partner, a potential partner, let's say, to be able to change the technology as we learn more on intuition and these frequencies, because all of their machines do frequencies, right? That's the whole point. So they deliver, their machinery delivers neurostimulation, which is, medicine in frequencies to the brain. And then that changes everything.
Are they part of killing cancer with frequencies as well? Or is that another company?
I don't think that they would probably phrase it exactly like that, but there's some beliefs about frequency, changing things like that too.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then I know that you and I had talked about Egypt. We were going to hop over to Egypt at one point, and that's still going on in the future always. If you want to tap into that group. And then also what's going on in Japan.
Right. Okay, perfect. Thank you. There's so many people. So Star Magic is a frequency-oriented healing, and it's a hands-on healing that they use breath work and, different contacts with the body to access your highest and best, like quantum frequency healing states. And I just spent some time with them in Costa Rica, about 10 days last September. And that was quite shifting, magical as well. And I probably am not supposed to say magical, but it was also.
Why not? Why not?
And also grounded in proof, right?
Yeah.
And so you feel the difference. And actually, since those 6 months of September to now, then it's been shifting actually. And so it proves in the pudding. You got to check out your life after you do these things as well.
And Japan.
And then, as far as Japan goes, so Mark Tanaka is a longtime leader and spiritual guy who I've connected with through my studies at Luminous Awareness Institute for the 12 years that I was with them. And he leads spiritual pilgrimages over in Japan. And so we're going to Japan in November. And we actually are going to deepen in the ways of intuition in the Japanese culture and the Shinto systems over there, and go to spiritual temples as well. And even where Reiki was born, they say, the mountain where Reiki was born as well. And, really, and all these adventures are also transmissions. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So I am a student of all the pathways and feel like I'm a transmitter of that as well. So when I actually go and experience these things and do the analysis and, meditate, ground in the space and be there, then, it imbues a signaling as well.
Yep. And it's almost like for the gamers out there, where you are your little warrior in the game, but then you keep collecting all your different warrior tools, your blades and your this and your that. That's what we're doing by going to all of these different. That's how I feel, anyways, when I'm going to different places. I lived in Sedona for a little while, and that's a huge vortex for masculine, feminine energy there. And Mexico, and I mean Puerto Rico itself there's vortex 20. Not even 10 minutes away from me. I was just with a healer last weekend. I mean, everywhere I'm going, I'm taking those new tools or swords with me or whatever they are. Yeah,
exactly. The new abilities that you gain, and in the gaming world, I was kind of looking into that a little bit, and there was something called resonance. Actually,
yes, there is
that where they stack the abilities. on top of each
Yes.
other of all the other players that you can
Yeah.
kind of like suck those in. So it's kind of
Yes.
like that too. Yeah.
Yes. There we go. All right, beautiful. Now, with that being said, you're wearing a lot of hats. You've worn a lot of hats there. You wrote a book on poetry, which, by the way, everyone, I have right here. And then tell us about your book, your poetry book, your intuitive work, and then you have a payroll company as well. And how do these threads feed into like what you're building now? I know how they do, but let the audience know.
Yes. So the poetry book was a collection of poems. It was my first one. So the chapbook, basically, entry world into published poetry. And the name of it is called The Keeper of the Original Sound.
Mm.
And as the keeper of the original sound, what does that mean? I went on a journey with drums, and that was a message, that I was given in the journey, that I am a keeper of the original sound. And we're still finding out what that means. But for about 7 years, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay. So about 7 years, I kind of had this idea after I studied sound and vibrational therapy. This idea kept growing and building itself to create a sacred geometrical sound dragon. And so I did that. I collaborated with an artist, created that. And that is the artistry that is on the cover of Keeper of the Original Sound.
Where can
There's
we
a lot
find
of
this
dynamic
book?
elements.
Where can we find
It
this
is
book?
available on Amazon.
Yes.
And yep, you can
All right,
find it on Amazon.
I'll dump a link to everybody.
Perfect.
For sure. I should have had it ready to hold up, but it's all good. And
No
then,
worries.
so the payroll company, money to me is energy. And I have trained this in my brain forever now and in my whole being. And you and I have shared before, and I've shared with you, I've dated billionaire sons, Witkoff's son, all the way down to not having wealth. I was born with not wealth in our family. And so what I've noticed is that there's a fear of money, of having it, keeping it, getting it, what to do with it, whether you're wealthy or in poverty. It's just that whole dynamic. And you work with money and other people's money. Give me just, I don't know, insight to that from your perspective.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So I didn't know this when I started working with it, but evidently in my 8th house is Jupiter, if anybody follows the astrology. And that means that I have a relationship with other people's money. And so as it turns out, my entire career has been setting up payroll systems internationally and with multinational corporations. So giant corporations like Starbucks and Delta Airlines, like really big, and 100,000 plus employees to make sure that everybody gets paid correctly, which is no small feat.
No.
And sometimes those projects would take 9 months to 18 months. Sometimes they would be multiple years as well. And so making sure, like, I found a lot of meaningful connection in being able to support the livelihood of all of those employees.
Yeah.
Worldwide and doing that properly. So I had a lot of pride in being able to do that and make the connections necessary from the technical world to the implementation world to the layman's terms to make sure that went well.
Yep.
And I did that for a very long time.
Yeah.
And that also helped. I mean, I was also a gamer as a young person growing up as well. I mean, even now, give me Galaga, okay? Give me Galaga any day, and we will just totally nail it. It's different than games now, but that was so fun. So I've always just had like this penchant, for software, actually, and for configuration and analysis. And I would always take apart my toys as a young girl.
Coding, yeah.
So I always loved that. And so that's my perspective when I come, looking at things of interest and including intuition.
Yes. And myself, as someone who is running a fund and looking at who are the best as can be options to invest in, not just from a business perspective, but also from a human's perspective, and where they've been, where they're going, how did they scale, not even if they don't have the pedigree of owning their own and scaling their own, that I both cheerlead you about you and praise you to others. These two parts of you that are also one, right? That are still one. You have this corporate tenacity and intelligence of scaling and and disseminating and creating structures and tech stacks and connections to be able to automate those things so that people can go and enjoy the currency of their life, that movement, that energy of their life.
Yes,
And
exactly.
and then you have the intuitive human side, which you're solving a healing a broken system. And that's what we're investing in at Sacral as well. And so, yeah, you're an awesome human, Crystal. And so that gets us into, you and I first met when I held an abundance meditation on the beach last year in December, right before the New Year and the holidays in St. Augustine. And you and I just clicked. We were like, let's go, let's do this. So as both the founder and one of our Sacral Sister investors, and you're going to be advising on some of the companies that we go to look to invest in. How does sitting on both sides of the table, as well as we're going to be investing in you, how is sitting on both sides of the table shape how you build or how you show up now, knowing that you have these other ways as a human to show up?
Yes. So I feel very much like I'm an involved member. Right. And so whatever gets my attention, whatever has my interest, I get connected with, I go deeper in, and it feels like I have one foot in both sides of the house, if you will, so that it keeps me grounded and it keeps me connected in a deeper way. And as a Scorpio, like that matters to me. So I can't go light, you guys. I can't go light. And so being that person it gives me, I feel like, additional insight. It gives me additional value, but also perceived value. So it's a two-way value street.
Yeah.
And I really prefer to be connected like that. And so being able to offer my services, right, as a mentor and a coach kind of person, I'm always like with you, not in front of you. And so being able to be an advisor as well with the Sacral Group is giving back in how I can do that, and in a way that I'm very skilled at, and I have over 20 years experience in. So I'm very honored to be able to do that for you guys. And then also feel very honored to have you here helping me reorg and doing the due diligence that we're doing.
Yes,
so it's a pleasure.
Definitely. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And so we're going to give a little closing out here. And you don't know this question. I didn't prep you on it. And I didn't prep a lot of the other ones, guys. She's just really good at answering them. All right. What's the boldest version of what intuitive human becomes over the next few years? And what is the boldest version of you that's going to become over the next few years?
Yeah, that gets the heart going for sure. The boldest version, intuitive human, will
become over the next few years.
Yeah, is known worldwide and recognized instantly with access, easy access available for people to just be able to access the intuition that's going to help them achieve the things, and not even just achieve. It's like more access to being in truth with your life.
Yeah. We are human beings, not human doings. That's the little cliche saying that they say.
Yeah, I love that. It's true. It's like, how can you be in your natural state and have more access to who you are?
Yes.
And what would that even feel like? And can the boldest of us even imagine that? And what that would mean? Because one of the things we've been working on is like languaging, the results of intuitive human, and it's like it changes everything.
Yeah, and I don't even know
it changes
since
everything.
You left what has transpired. And you've only sent me one little note scratch recently. I won't say it out loud, but I was like, oh, that already seems like it's happened. Like that term, that term already exists. Yeah. All right, now what's the boldest version that we should and support you in becoming over the next few years?
Yes,
what is that?
Honestly, at my last Greg Braden event that I went to, I went up on a break. I went up, not on the stage, but I went to the side of the stage, and I envisioned myself with that whole room full of people interested in what intuitive human is doing in the world and participating. And so as a manifester and a creator, and a creatress. That is what I would offer as my boldest, is to be a speaker, on these stages like that with hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people tuning in, listening, and changing lives. And my high self purpose is to touch many.
Yes.
And to be able to do that in a platform that makes sense and is accessible is a way that I would love to.
Well, I almost cried there because I already felt that it was so real. That was wild. So yeah, I just felt like I was already happy for you because it already happened. I was like, oh my God, I see it. I'm there too, girl.
Good. Yay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's important. It's important to see yourself in those ways. I mean, that's also how we met too, is, I had been doing manifestation practices in the morning for 10 days before we even met.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
I was like, huh.
And you
no
had
surprise.
And you had also said that you had been searching for someone who had the acumen and experience of knowing how to build and scale and get ventured capital, etc. The type of business that you have, which is very unique, and that would get it, but then also that would be aligned with it.
Yes,
and that embodies it and practices it, and has been doing the healing as long as you have. Those check boxes are extremely rare.
Amazing.
Because in venture capital and private equity, women are just now coming in. Billionaires have been using astrology for a long time. Like, there's all these different check boxes that are in the venture capital, private equity world of healing and intuitiveness and spirituality. Yet, it's very rare to find someone who's full embodied on it and that applies it into this world, this in financial industry, so to say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and this is one of those whispers that matter, because I didn't even know about VC anything in my life until I was hanging around Silicon Valley and going to healing events there, because I lived outside of Sacramento and kind of hung out in Santa Cruz and stuff. And I went to an event and I met this lady who was a VC, and I was like, what is that? And it wasn't you, but it was like back in like 2013 or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was a resonance, I was like, man, there is something with venture capital. There's something with this. And I tried to connect to that lady just to talk to her more about it, but it was a closed door. It didn't happen. And I was like, wow, that's really weird, because I felt such a connection and such resonance. And so I just always held on to that, right? That's a whisper that matters. I just always held on to it. Like, I want to know more. I need to know more. And now I get to with you, who is aligned in all those wonderful ways, and totally resonant 100%. And I knew it immediately also upon meeting you at the beach for that meditation. And that's not even why I went.
No, it's not.
So perfect.
It's definitely not. But you had been doing your visualization meditations 10 days prior to that. So you were just strengthening that messaging, right?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
Then what was I going to say? That's why I call sacral capital, your gut, your intuition. So that's another thing.
Yes.
You were also, this is what you're doing. It's like you're studying the gut and the intuition. And then my firm is called Sacral Capital. And then human design, my authority is my sacral. But then also there's a lot of, I'm going to give a shout out to Azria Becker, because her and I at the same time, she knows it, but doesn't know it. We've met a few times, and I met with her husband, and they're on video. They're raising capital for Kavana, a healing spiritual hotel residency in Mexico. And they acquired a lot of land where they're protecting a lot of it as well. And she's calling herself a ceremonial CEO. They are stewarding capital, just like where I'm stewarding capital. There's a lot more of us coming out now that we know that money, again, is not something to be afraid of. It's something that we all will use to steward the missions that we know are going to bring healing to ourselves and the world and whatever it is that we're doing. So yeah, I'm happy to be on this journey with you, Crystal, and this is very exciting. Why don't you go ahead and let everyone out there know where to find you? Email, LinkedIn, maybe for all your different businesses. Maybe someone might want you for your payroll. I don't know if you're still doing that, but all the way down to the intuitive human.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys need assistance with UKG, a workforce timekeeper, let me know, or ADP Enterprise E-Time. That's the payroll business. And I'm on LinkedIn, so you can find me under my name, Crystal Clenney, Crystal, and last name Clenney, Clenney. And if you want to email me about intuitive human, email me directly with my first initial, last name. So C Clenney, that's CCLENNEY at intuitivehuman.com. And just double check the spelling of intuitive. Sometimes it gets reversed with the I's and the U's and all that.
I'll be dropping it down.
And then, but yeah, I would love to, speak to people who are experiencing intuition in profound ways or subtle ways. We will be doing case studies. We are putting together our launch, and that is going to include case studies on intuition, specifically as they're related to character styles, which is to say, Alexander Lowen and Wilhelm Reich's information from about 100 years ago for psychology. But it's really like focusing on intuition based on psychology and making sure that we understand similarities that people might be having. So are the dreamers all having the same experience or similar experiences? And can we find that in the brain and body, and how? So those are the kinds of case studies we're going to be starting with.
I love this.
And we will be looking for 140 humans.
Okay, 140 humans for that. You got it. I'm pretty sure that we'll have 140 listens on this by the end.
Okay, perfect.
And we will have called them all in. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode 9 of Plunge Into Prosperity. And I appreciate all of your listening lately. We've had over 200 streams so far since I've only launched 2 weeks ago. So I just want to give some love and light out there to all of you as well for supporting this mission of plunging into prosperity. And thank you again, Crystal. And everyone, have a prosperous rest of your day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for plunging into sacred wisdom and regenerative wealth with us. If your soul and your portfolio just got a glow up, hit subscribe on YouTube, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple. Share it with your crew. Tag us on social and join the movement at plungeintoprosperity.com. I'm Brandi Kolosky. Catch you on the next plunge.